Welcome back to the unofficial Squarespace Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Omari Harabin. I'm the founder of SQSBthemes.com. And if you've built a business around the Squarespace platform, if you sell products or services that cater to the users of this platform, then this show is for you. Typically, I'm talking with another founder about their story, the lessons they've learned, the insights they've gained from building their Squarespace business. And today I'm going to be sharing one of my own stories. Early in 2021, I launched a Squarespace extension. And then in the beginning of 2022, about a year later, I sold that extension. Now, the reason I'm sharing this story is because I've got another guest coming up in a few weeks who also recently sold a Squarespace related business in the accessibility space. And then I also know of another Squarespace template shop that has recently been acquired by a new owner. And so I think it's interesting now in this particular space that we have businesses that are now being acquired, right? Last year, Squarespace itself went public. You know, they've made big acquisitions, but the acquisitions I'm talking about are in a little bit of a smaller scale. And so the story that I'm going to share with you today is actually a really small project, but this project was for me to go through this process of building and selling an extension so that I could have that complete full cycle experience for myself of, both creating something from scratch and then also, selling it to someone else at the end. So let's get into the story. It's been a while since I told it. So I have some notes here from when I first launched this thing to refresh my memory. But the product was called the Super Jack. The extension was called Super Jack. And I actually came up with the idea for it, or I knew there was a solution that was needed years before that. So in about 2018, a client reached out because they wanted to be able to export their Squarespace orders into a Google Sheet and have those orders sync automatically. Now, what did I do? I went on a little mini quest to figure out a solution to that problem. Now, mind you, I'm not a developer. I'm not a designer. Those aren't my primary skill sets. But I am a pretty good problem solver / Googler / search. I call myself a search engineer. And so I went on a hunt to figure out a solution to this that didn't require code. And I actually found one. And there are a bunch of no-code API integrators that allowed me to hack together without code a solution to this and have the Squarespace Orders API be fed and massaged into this thing and manipulated and spit out into a Google Sheet. And so I posted my solution to my YouTube channel and to my blog. And the API integrator that I used, they had a referral program as well where I would get a small commission. It was actually an Amazon gift card for the first 5 referrals, and then that was it. And so after about a month or two, I had gotten those 5 referrals based off of people watching the video, needing the same solution, and then, following the steps that I laid out. And I thought, all right, cool. It took me maybe an hour or two to create the video. And by the time I'd collected those 5 commissions, it was worth the 2 hours that I spent, or the hour that I spent making that video. Anyway, long story short, about a year later or 2 years later, I realized that I was still getting notifications each time someone had tried out this API integrator, except I wasn't getting referral commissions anymore. So somewhere between 50 and 100 potential, referral commissions had passed. And I thought to myself, well, all right, this is definitely, a viable product idea, because this hacky solution that I've put together, people are looking for it, they're searching for it, they're finding my hacky solution, they're signing up for this API integrator thing. So it's already pre-validated. Now, I had my own ambitions, and my ambitions at this point were, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, were to be able to sell something. I wanted to be able to sell a SaaS product. So this was an opportunity for me to do that. And so around the end of 2019, I started to get to work on it. And so the first step that I took was to put together some wireframes. So I'd actually, believe it or not, never really put together wireframes before in all the years of designing websites and so on. And so it was a fun little process to think about this product through a developer's eyes or a developer's mind and think, all right, well, what requirements will I have to provide so that they can develop and give me the best product? So anyway, I put together my wireframes, and Upwork has always been my go-to source for freelance developers. And so I went over to Upwork, posted a job description, and I was looking for a Ruby developer. I don't know exactly why Ruby. It was a language that I heard would be friendly for what I was trying to do. Anyway, I did find a developer, except Ruby wasn't his particular language. It doesn't make any difference to me as the end user. So anyway, he said he could do the job and he can get it done. So it took about 2 to 4 weeks to get a prototype ready. And during that time, I put together a small list of potentially interested customers. And it's always interesting, the drop off between the interest list and then, when the thing is actually ready. But anyway, I put together, I after 2 or 4 weeks, the prototype was somewhat ready. And all I needed now was a landing page, which, again, I mocked up a landing page, sent it over to the developer, made a logo in Canva, and then we were ready to get this, beta version out there and used. There were a couple of technical things that I had to work out with Google. Trying to see my notes exactly what that was. It had to do with the authorization. I don't remember, but I had to work out some stuff. Once that was squared away, the app was live, it was launched, and I announced it to that interest list. And like I said, there was a drop off in terms of people who were interested and then those who actually tried it out. But within the first month of launching, I got 10 users, and I was happy with that. And so now the path was laid where, now I had to grow this thing and maintain it and to support it. And I hadn't really thought that part all the way through. So I didn't have the best relationship with the developer in terms of, how to go about supporting and maintaining this thing long term. But we did add some additional features. So at the point of launch, I had spent maybe $2,000 on getting this thing developed, and then I spent a couple months later spent another $2,000 to add some extra features that proved to no longer be needed shortly after that. But anyway, between launching the product and maybe 5 or 6 months down the road, I realized that I didn't have the bandwidth to keep marketing it and to, keep adding features and to keep supporting it. And so about 6 months in, I actually listed it for sale on a marketplace called Micro Acquire. And I didn't get any interested buyers until I think January 2022. So I think I listed it September 2021. And then beginning of this year, 2022, I started to get some interested buyers. And in order to get those interested buyers, I had to drop my selling price. And so once I did get an interested buyer, it only took 2 weeks to close. And I closed for a modest 4-figure sum. But in closing, I had accomplished what I set out to do, which was to go through that complete cycle. Now, the middle part of the cycle of, growing the thing and supporting it and maintaining it, in this particular case, I didn't have the wherewithal for all that, which is what prompted or pushed my desire to sell it a bit sooner. And I think had I added more value to the product, I probably could have sold it for a bit more at the end. But anyway, that was it pretty much. If you have questions on any part of this process, from the MVP to launching to trying to sell a SaaS product, or in this case a Squarespace extension, let me know in the comments for wherever you're watching or listening to this, and I'll get back to you. And that's all I got for this episode. Look out for a future episode, though, where I'm going to be talking with another guest on how they sold their Squarespace business. I think it was a little bit larger size business. They had been running it for a few years, but I'm really looking forward to that conversation. So if you enjoyed this story, you're definitely going to enjoy that. And I'll see you next week on the next episode of the unofficial Squarespace Entrepreneur Podcast. Peace.